Yeah, we can't help but have an impact. Like like literally everything we do ripples out every day. Like you smile or you don't smile at the person on the street, and you don't smile, that has an impact. You do smile, it has an impact.
Hi guys, welcome to Response Able with Professor Nikki James.
I mean, louder is better in my opinion.
I think so.
Because then we can yell. I feel like I have a fake loud voice. Because if I actually screamed right now, I would be super loud.
Thanks so much for being back again for the second half of my conversation with Richard Gorvett. In the last episode, we learned all about Richard's early career journey, his transition from university into a not-for-profit organization, and then finding social enterprise along the way, ending up in Africa, in Tanzania, working for a small social enterprise organization, through to his work with Reach for Change, where he got to support social entrepreneurs. In this episode, we pick up the conversation just as Richard's starting to talk about the work that he is doing now. I learned something really interesting about Richard in this part of the conversation that I didn't know before, an inflection point that could have completely changed his career trajectories. I am so excited for us to jump into the second half of this conversation. Enjoy.
Kind of get into that space and had no idea how to do that, and like, what did I need to do developmentally to get in that space? He said, you need to come work on this program for me now. and I said,
so really nothing. You don't need anything. You just need to get started.
I've never been in rooms with senior executives. Like, you can't. And he said, that's why I want you in the room, because we have enough people in the room who have like decades of experience, like working in that space. You're coming with a completely different perspective. We're trying to push a kind of agenda around the social responsibility side. You can speak to that with full experience because that's all you've ever done.
Right.
And you can come in and ask the questions that maybe we can't ask because we know too much.
That's
so that
amazing.
So that was another terrifying, showing up. I'd been living in flip-flops and shorts. You saw the pictures for years. And that, now I got to go into that kind of environment with like,
right.
find some shoe polish and
right. But the cool thing is the thing that you thought was your disqualifier was actually your qualifier.
Yeah.
And right. The thing that you were like, I don't have this bit. And so therefore I can't. Everyone on the other side was like, no, that's what makes you perfect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And I have to give credit to, my friend Tim, who was the one that basically said that, and he's always, I've known him for a long time, and he's always been a big fan of like what I was doing, and could always see value in what I was doing, and could see how that value could translate across. And he was, it was. I don't know if everybody would have made that decision, but he did, and and it was the same feeling I had turning up in Australia, like that first course that I went to. I was just like, oh, this is like massive imposter syndrome. Like, what am I?
Right?
How could I be here? And then you go through it, and then you get the feedback at the end of the week, and the feedback from the participants was like just a huge thank you for like being here and asking the kinds of questions. I was like, oh, okay, Tim was right. there's
I do know how to do
value
this.
Here.
Yeah.
So that basically was a shift back into this leadership development space, and I spent several years actually. Got really tugging on this systems piece. And that took me into a whole new realm of what's called kind of regenerative futures. And again, what does it mean? We're part of this giant living system, but we've all been trained to think in kind of mechanistic systems. But actually, that's not how things. Yeah, if you're building a factory, it's a mechanistic system. But if you're like part of the living world, it's something else. And like, so how do these living systems work? And from a systems change perspective, what are the implications of that for how we do? So I've spent the last few years kind of digging quite deeply into that and like becoming a student again. I've done like a bunch of courses. And then eventually I decided that the leadership development, so much of the stuff in the leadership development space, because of who is willing to pay for what, is management training dressed up as leadership. It's not, if we go back to the beginning of that really simple thing, like what's wrong with the world?
Right.
What do you want the world to look like? How do you get from there here to there? That's what leadership, to me, that's what leadership is.
Right.
It's taking people from wherever they are to somewhere like better, and people will define better in different ways.
Right.
But the idea of like leadership development being about how do I improve the bottom line of this company that's like extractive, that's not leadership, like as far as I'm concerned. And then, there are people that have different opinions around that. And so I was kind of just thinking like, what is the leadership development community that I would want to be part of? And where are those companies? And I was just like, I can't find them really. There were some things that were kind of close. And so I decided maybe I should set something up myself. And so that's what I'm doing now.
Back at it as an entrepreneur all over again.
Back to startup in my mid 40s. Yeah. What I had originally set up as a consulting company to be able to go get hired onto programs like the one that I was talking about earlier, has now been evolving into like what does a long arc global leadership development community look like? And so again, instead of 1 week programs are great, but really if this kind of the developmental work of like how do we become wiser leaders effectively, at the core of it, that's what this is about for me. It's like there's a massive wisdom gap. Like we sacrificed wisdom on the altar of progress a long time ago. No one's got time for wisdom anymore.
Right.
But we all know it when we see it. And so it's like, well, how do we, if we're taking on responsibilities within systems where we're making decisions that like influence things, like don't we want to make those decisions as wisely as possible? And what does that take to like cultivate wisdom intentionally rather than just hope it shows up along the way? And that feels like, you can do bits and pieces in like a few days, but that feels like this is a longer arc journey through time that you want to do with other people that are kind of interested and committed to that kind of long arc developmental work. So that's what we're trying to do at Deep Wave.
So good.
Yeah.
Could you imagine like thinking back to when you were 20 years old, like just graduating your undergrad degree? Could you imagine your life as it is today with all of those stories that you've told me along the way?
Could I imagine where I am now?
Yeah.
No. I mean, certainly not at graduation. I think when I started working at the British Council, there were elements of this that were there, early 20s, like this kind of, I knew I wanted to work internationally. I knew I wanted to work in and around education, but not be a teacher. So those threads have like stayed the same. And I knew I wanted to go to different parts of the world and experience different things, but like not in any way in the ways that I've ended up doing that. And I think that, I remember it's funny we were talking about Justin. He's one of my favorite people, who I met through Luca, and he now lives in New Zealand and runs a very cool kind of community farm. But I remember talking to him about career moves and like, this whole trap we all fall into of like, I need another job. So let me go look at what jobs are out there.
Right.
And which one is like, hopefully there's one that's exciting, or like, but often it's like, which is the one I can tolerate, And
so true.
Yeah, and his whole advice was just like, I stopped doing that a long time ago. Like, I just go find the organizations that I think are really interesting, and I'll just start reaching out to them to start conversations, and to just like kind of actively, I don't want to say aggressively, but like very proactively pursue things that speak to you as interesting, and just trust that those threads will take you somewhere.
Right.
And he told me that in my mid-20s, and I was like, well, that makes a lot more sense. So I started doing that, and that's how I ended up making the decisions that I made, and sort of taking a lot of decisions that were very unclear of like, where does this thing lead to? And even now, like starting this thing, I was like, I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but like directionally, I know it's like it makes a lot of sense directionally, and just feels like it's exactly what I want to be doing, and that where I can bring my highest value.
it felt like I had to have not just the direction, but I had to have the how, and it needed to be clear. Whereas the direction is really fuzzy and the how is unclear, but that's okay because the how evolved over time. And that's the same way as it happened to me. So it's actually okay as long as you know the direction and the things that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like kind of like a sandwich. And like having a sense of what the bread looks like without knowing what the filling looks like. So like, you know, directionally, like what do you really care about? Like what is the thing that, like what are the kind of itches you really need to scratch? What are the things you care about? The things you might want to change? Like, so this kind of purpose piece, but like, that's kind of North Star, right? That's right. So that's kind of one slice of bread.
I feel like in my early 20s.
And then the other piece is like, you know, if that's the kind of far out, far away, can't really sense it, but it's out there and I know it's out there somewhere. The other piece is the very grounded, who am I? What do I care about? What are my values? Like, what are the things that like bring me alive? Like, what do I really enjoy doing? Where's my highest kind of value at this point in time? And that will evolve. And I think if you've got that kind of like clarity around your values and your principles as a grounding force, and then you've got your North Star,
right?
It's going to be hard to make too many decisions that take you like too far off track. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so then the plan doesn't become as important as just when you come across things, you'll know like that resonates deeply with these things because I know this about myself and I know that's kind of the direction. Yeah, that's a good fit. That's not a good fit. And you can save a lot of time. But I think, I don't know, I feel those two things are far more important than having everything mapped out. Yeah.
And I think with a lot of the disruption and uncertainty that we have kind of in now and in the future, being comfortable with like the two different pieces of bread, or I feel like also what came to mind for me when you were saying that was both roots and wings.
That's much better.
Right. you can borrow it. It's fine. But you know, you're rooted in who you are and you have wings to fly towards your North Star and how you get there and what unfolds on the journey.
Yeah.
Right. I think it was really interesting that every time you were like, this is what I sense I need to be doing right now. And you went and talked to people and a door opened or a window opened for you to step into something that it allowed you to self-actualize that thing that you were sensing.
Yeah.
But if you weren't taking the time to like know yourself and be rooted in who you are, that would have been a lot harder to kind of know where you're going.
Yeah. And I think when you stop and think about it, just logically it just makes so much sense, right? If you go spend time speaking to people doing the things that excite you and build those connections, that you can think about it kind of this is a very premeditated, I'm going to go network to get these connections. Like, sure, like some people work in that way, but just if you just like follow your interests and like create space in your life to follow your interests. And so even if you've got a full-time job, maybe it's like an hour a week or an hour a month that you just say, look, I'm going to spend that time just like reaching out to new people that like I don't know that doing really cool things until like I can kind of set up some conversations. And those things will naturally, you become your best self in those spaces because you're naturally enthusiastic and interested and curious and engaged. And I think a lot, it's very easy to sacrifice that, like to just not do that because it doesn't fit in the box that you're in right now. And then you feel like you have to stay in this box.
What would you tell your 20-year-old self if you could whisper in his ear today? 20 years on or 25 years on?
So it's funny, my 20-year-old self was in a dark place. My 22-year-old self was in a much better place. So I think my 20-year-old self, I would say it's okay to pursue what you love. Like I think at that point I was very trapped in these are the things that I need to do and this is the path that I've chosen and I therefore need to like, and being racked with all kinds of like insecurity and stress around having to finish these things. And like I was in a degree program that I was doing and I was like, I have to finish this and I'd kind of stopped doing all the things that I loved. You know, it's kind of, I don't know, I probably was depressed. I don't know if it was like a dark turn, this podcast. But I don't know. I think
no, but that's honest. I feel like
I think I had severe social anxiety through my teenage years, went to university, which just exacerbated all of that. And I was like was very close to wanting to drop out. I did want to drop out at the end of midway through my first year was awful, but I got through it. Like lots of lovely people and some good things happened, but just like inside, I was just so unhappy, and just kind of getting up every day and kind of getting through it. And a lot of that was to do with social pressures that happened in the first year of university. You're supposed to go and like be outgoing and meet lots of people and go to all the parties. And like that stuff like made me physically like I had panic attacks. So like all the things that you have to do, in quotes,
right,
when you go, I didn't want to do any of that stuff, but I was forcing myself to do it. And anyway, I kind of got through that, but then I probably would have quit, but I was doing a French degree and my third year was a year abroad. And I was like, if I can just get to the end of the second year, I'm going to go overseas and I can, it's a completely different environment. I'll and so I went and spent a year in France. I don't know what happened, but I completely isolated myself, and it was almost like a physical reset around a lot of that stuff. All of that pressure, like the social pressures that felt prevalent in a kind of hall of university with all these things going on. I'd suddenly lived on my own in Bordeaux in an apartment by myself and could do what I wanted. And I just got lots of books from the library and read a lot and went did my job and came home. And I came back like feeling, in a different place, and actually really enjoyed my last year of college, and came out of that feeling, like I thought I wanted to teach, and I realized that I didn't want to teach. So then it was like, I've got this French degree, and I don't want to be a French teacher. What am I going to do? But like I said earlier, I had clarity around. By that point, I knew I wanted to work in and around education. I wanted to work internationally, which is how I ended up with the British Council, because it ticked all those boxes. I think anyway, so my 20-year-old self was in a hole, and I would say just don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a lot of grace. And the main thing for me was that I had no idea that so many people suffer from like anxiety and depression at that age. And I had never gone to speak to anyone about it, hadn't been to a doctor. And I went and found a doctor, and they were like 60% of males your age experience something like this to some degree.
Right.
And just hearing that was a turnaround.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not a total psycho.
So there's a normalization of,
just like this thing that I thought I was a complete unique freak in this thing where everybody else was great and having a wonderful time. And then I was told, no, half those people are faking it.
Right.
Maybe not to the extent that you're feeling it, but everyone's going through this thing. And I was like, I wish someone told me that 6 years ago.
This would have made my life so much better.
And it was funny because I went to the doctor expecting I was going to be committed, because I just reached the end of I was just like, he's going to I can't do this anymore. And he said, you have a mild anxiety disorder.
Right.
And I was like, mild? Like I was so angry. I was like relieved and angry at the same time. Like this thing's defined my life for like so long. You're saying it's a mild disorder?
Right.
And anyway, so but just my point being, I think we get so hard on ourselves, especially at that age, right? Teenage years, now you're an adult, and now you're supposed to have your shit together, and now you're supposed to know what your career is going to be and your path and all that kind of stuff. And I think great for people that know that, that's wonderful. I think there's a lot of people that don't know that, and I think it's quite easy to kind of start beating yourself up about it. And so I think that's the big message. It's just give yourself grace. Be open and honest and talk to people about how you're doing, and don't try and pretend that you're doing great when you're not. And I think the new generation generally are better at that than maybe my generation was. I think, but maybe not. I think just awareness around mental health and all that kind of stuff has increased a lot. It just was not there when I was there. So anyway, that's my 20-year-old self. And then my 22-year-old self, who had kind of come through that and kind of was out the other side.
Were you just graduated at 22?
So it was a 4-year program, so it was 18 to 22.
Okay.
And again, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I had some idea, and I had a family that was willing to let me come and stay at home with them, while I figured some stuff out. That had a time limit on it. It wasn't going to be forever, but they were like, okay, that's fine for now. And so I think to my 22-year-old self after graduation, it would just be just trust that direction that you think you found, and don't worry too much about you can't find the perfect job right now, or just take whatever you need to kind of, but keep your eye on that direction, and just maybe the route to that direction is not straight. Maybe you need to zigzag. But as long as that direction as long as you still feel that pull, like that gravitational pull towards that, just don't let that go. Even if you have to take quite big detours along the way just to make ends meet, or, but just keep that there and keep finding ways to reconnect with it, even if it's like small ways, like reading books about it or watching films, even if you're not working in it, just to kind of keep hold of that.
Yeah. And is that North Star still kind of the same North Star that you're shooting for today? Same directionally, even if it's evolved?
Yeah, I think so. My whole thing has always been around potential. And, I'm sure this is probably attached to, how I felt through my teenage years, and like feeling small and just wanting to kind of retire. But there's so much potential, like in everything and everybody and every moment for like really cool stuff and like really important, good things that will generally be better for the world as a whole. That hasn't changed. Like I get angry, like just when I see like how much talent and energy is being poured into like really pointless stuff, that kind of, it grates. And so that direction, that's always been it. It's like, how do we like encourage and inspire and enable people to do the things that they really want to do, that where they can see that the impact of this is like beneficial for them, but beneficial for like the greater kind of whole. And that hasn't changed. And so, if I think that the red thread through all that work has been like, how do we help people kind of, realize more of that potential versus people feeling stuck that they have to do things that they don't really want to do, just, because society kind of makes them feel that way. So how do you unlock more and more and more of that? That's still directionally the thing. And now it's, then this is in the leadership space. This my, the evolution of that frustration. It's like how much energy, money, resource is being channeled by people who have like positions of influence and decision making into stuff that's not just like suboptimal, it's actively destroying the world, actively making the place like worse for like generations to come. When I know that all of those people like deep down like care about things, and like so like that misalign. It's about the alignment piece. Like how do we just help more people align those things that we were talking about earlier, like things that they actually deeply care about versus like the things that we're told we should care about by media and advertising, etc., etc. Like what do we really care about? Like, and what's our kind of highest value contribution? How do we make that alignment? And so like the whole purpose behind Deep Wave is, we're mid-40s, mid-career professionals, increasingly into more and more senior positions of leadership. Like we are the next generation of leaders, of facilitators, of conveners, of board members. Like, we've got 25 years of runway of work left ahead of us. Like, how do we help more and more people at that mid-career point still feel able to make these choices directionally that maybe a lot of people don't feel able to make? They're like, I'm in this system now. I'm on the treadmill. Like, I've got the house, I've got the school fees, I'm kind of stuck in this thing. It's like, no, it's not too late. Like, you've still got 25 years of runway. You can do a lot with that runway.
Right.
But like making like, so how do we, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to quit your job and quit your industry, but it's like in your job, in your industry, like I was saying that earlier, come back from that course, just like same job, same seat, just see it differently.
Right.
And everybody can do that. And so that's really like what this thread has evolved into now. It's just like how to like from whatever position you're in, like how can you do like one small thing that kind of is more directionally aligned with what you ideally would be doing if you had complete control? Because that small thing will turn into two small things, will turn into three small things. And that can ultimately start to shift things. And I think it's sad to think about people at the end of careers looking back at careers and just going, I wish I hadn't. I feel like I could have done more. It's like we all could have done more, but it's like this kind of mid-career point of choice making and like, well, how do we, I guess, have a little more courage, agency, but also the support that you need. And that's why we're doing this as a community, because making those choices and as an individual in a system that's telling you not to make those choices is really, really hard.
Right.
But if you make those choices and you've got like a refuge and a community of people you can come back to and go, guys, I think I'm going to make this choice and it's going to rub some people up the wrong way at work, but I kind of feel like I really want to do it. And we all go,
yes.
we got you. Go do it.
Yeah.
So, and do it smartly.
That validation.
Don't get yourself fired.
Right.
But how do you, having that community of support behind you, which most people don't have, can be massive. And I mean, that's, people like you come into my life and provide that support, and it gives you so much kind of courage and just like knowing that people have got you, and and kind of confirmation that, okay, if someone's willing to like back me on this, they must think it's not just my crazy idea. Like someone sees that there's value in this as well.
It's so important to not feel like you're crazy, right? Because I have those thoughts all the time. I'm like, is what I'm doing crazy? And then people are like, well, you're a little bit out there, but you're like, it's not crazy. And I'm like, oh, okay, if you don't think it's crazy and I don't think it's crazy, it mustn't be that crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think often like there's, if you think about who inspires you the most, it's always the crazy people.
True.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like the people, the ones that you really want, well, maybe for me.
But then we
maybe
don't
not.
want to be, we don't want to be seen as crazy, but we're super inspired by crazy. I've never thought of that before, but that's so right.
I mean,
so
I think if you want to shift systems, like you have to act in ways that are not normal, and that you have to, and I think that courage born of a conviction that directionally you're headed in the right direction. And that you and a trust that you will be able to make other things like around this kind of, you'll figure it out, rather than have to follow the pathways that have been laid down by others for us to follow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about it sometimes as like waking up. Maybe I feel like we can get on railroad tracks, and I think it's really amazing you talking about at like early mid 40s. Going, I still have a runway of 25 years.
At least, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just in career, like to potential retirement, or I also really, really, if you're doing what you love, maybe it goes much longer than that. But I feel like sometimes in the classroom, the students kind of come out of undergrad degrees feeling like if they don't make it happen in 5 years, it's all over Red Rover kind of thing. And I don't believe that's the case, but from their positionality and their perspective, it's kind of almost like the world somehow is telling them, or someone's whispering in their ear going, you better do it now because like you're over in 5 years. Whereas I feel like you, I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
Like people go, you're a professor, you have a PhD, but I'm like, but I'm the baby professor.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the baby professor, I'm the baby doctor.
Yeah.
I've still got so much more to go to feel like I've gotten to the top of my field or gotten to the direction that I want to be in as well. Like, I think that's a really important reminder for like people that are younger, is like, it's a journey. And I know that sounds cliche and we say that all the time. It's a journey, not a destination, but it really is.
Yeah.
Right? If you're sitting here we're sitting here in our 40s going, oh my gosh, we still have so much more to do that we can do and so much more time.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think I had that perspective when I was 20 either, which I understand and empathize with my students for not having that perspective. But I think it's a really important reminder, that we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more people out there than we realize that want to do this work. And if we do it together and support each other, hopefully we go further. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for a few things. Thank you for being willing to have this conversation. Thank you for all of the impact you've had on my life and being willing to come to Australia and lead a program, even though you were a little bit terrified and didn't know why everyone was putting you up to it, but also more broadly for like what you've done in the world, because I know you downplay it. Like I was going to ask you for Reach for Change, like how many social entrepreneurs do you think you impacted or your work touched? Outreach for Change in that 8 years?
I mean, the work, it was in the thousands. It was interesting. It was, so you're trying to wrap this up, aren't you?
No, go for it. But I think that like what you've done already is so much more amazing than I think you stop and think about. And I do the same, right? You go back or you have a conversation with somebody and see it from their perspective. Like you've impacted thousands and thousands and thousands of lives already. And you're still like, well, there's still so much I want to do, which is really inspiring. Yeah. But you've impacted a lot of lives.
Thanks. Just one thing. I think I have, I think on the bottom of my email signature at the moment for the last while, I've had a Jane Goodall quote, which says something, I'm going to misquote her now, but it says something along the lines of, everything we do makes a difference. Like we have to decide what difference we want to make. And I think, again, just that directional choice, it's like if you make choices to put yourself in positions where, we can't help but have an impact. Like like literally everything we do ripples out every day. Like you smile or you don't smile at the person on the street, and you don't smile, that has an impact. You do smile, it has an impact. Maybe not a big one, but something. And you can get deep into head spinning pretty quickly around that. But on this, if you put yourself into positions where the work that you're doing naturally, like just it's in a space but it's kind of a direction in what makes sense to you, then all of it, whether you're making good decisions, we all make good decisions, bad decisions, we all make mistakes, like all of these things ripple out. But like I guess I could have, I applied for a job at Fidelity when I was 22.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I got saved by appendicitis. And my recovery meant they couldn't onboard me in time, so that didn't happen.
Wow. So you got offered the job?
There was another reality for me where maybe that would have been a lifelong career at Fidelity.
Investment banker.
Yeah.
Right.
But and that would have just meant the things I was being asked to think about and the decisions I was being asked to make just have a different kind. I just happened to end up in a place where we supported lots of people, and I think even if I had been at Fidelity, there's still, I don't know, wherever you are,
still you.
Wherever you are, you're still you.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe this is the thing. I think, again, I think if you think about the way that we're all educated, like I think about this a lot, right? So I was 25 and I went on that leadership course. And for the first time in my life at 25, so I finished all of my schooling. My education was done at every level.
Right.
Right. So I'm educated. Done. Right?
Check.
No one had ever asked me. And then not really asked me, and then waited patiently for a real answer around who are you? Like, what do you really care about? When you look at the world, what makes you angry? What makes you happy? And we in our culture, those are not conversations that happen. And they're the most important conversations we should all be having. That is the most important developmental work any of us can do, is to really deeply understand who we are, what we care about, what we think is important. And what, then how do we, if we're in understanding that, what are the implications of that for where we want to place our time and the things that we want to do? And we were talking yesterday about, pick a problem to focus on. And that, right? Why is there not more space in our education system to help people really connect with that deeply? You look at careers, I know maybe it's changed, but it's what are you do these assessments? Oh, you should be a lawyer. You should be great. Those tracks, there's lots of support around that. But that question around who are you? We don't really get into that much. And I think that's a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think, I was lucky that I ended up through the back door in a place where people started unexpectedly asking me those questions. And I was like, what is this? But for those, had I not been put in that situation, you figure it out, right? Because it's all in there and it's all going to come out at some point in some way.
Right.
But I think just helping that come out really intentionally and sort of in a way that it gives you something really solid you can start working with earlier in life than like figuring that out at 50 or 60 or 70 or like is just helpful.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Amazing. Well, as a result of getting in the back door with Luca, you've had that experience. As a result of me also having that same experience, we met and have done crazy things in multiple parts of the world together and separately as well. And yeah, this has been fun. Any what's the last thought that's popped into your head just now?
The last thought that popped into my head is, you said thanks for a few things, and I'm just very mindful right now of all the people who have like laid the enabling conditions for like all the good stuff that's like happened in my life. And so I'm thinking about Tim Munden and Tim Boddy and the guys who set up, these were people in corporate jobs who didn't need to set up Luca Leadership.
Right.
And who spent their evenings and weekends basically saying like their own version of whatever I just said, right? There needs to be a space for young people to be able to explore this stuff. It's really important. This isn't my idea. This was like something that they set up and I went through and it kind of stuck with me. But them and everybody else in that organization who like made those things possible. And then everyone else along the way, like, like people like you, and you kind of downplay your impact as well. But just like having someone when you're doing something a bit, why am I living in a hut? Like, why am I here? Like everybody thinks I'm crazy, and then you can pick up the phone and speak to Nikki. You go, I think this is awesome. Keep going. You're like, okay, good. It's not just And there've been so many champions, I guess, and just these people that you meet along the way, and you don't know when you're meeting them that that's the role that they're playing.
Right.
You don't necessarily appreciate it fully, but like looking back, it's like, I wouldn't have been able to do any of these things if it hadn't been for these people like along the way that kind of enabled things. And,
right.
So anyway, just lots of gratitude for all the cool people along the way.
So good. Yeah. I love that. Final thought. Lots of gratitude for all the cool people along the way.
Yeah.
Because the universe really does provide those people as well.
They're all out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're doing cool things, you find the cool people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Weird? Isn't that weird when you do cool things, it attracts cool people?
Yeah. You find your people on the journey.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
How crazy is it that it was an illness that prevented Richard taking a potentially completely different pathway in a different career? But I am personally really grateful that he ended up where he did. I know that even if he had ended up working with Fidelity all those years ago, that his life would have made an impact because that is just who he is. It just would have looked really different. I look forward to seeing you all next week as we tune in for episode 4.